Good morning.
Oh, we're live. Just about.
As you can see, it's rather dark here in Malaysia. We're in Langkawi, and the mullah or the imam is calling to prayer all the way around the bay. So you have not just our voices to hear, but them as well.
Yeah, I wonder if they can hear it. It's
Yeah.
quite faint, but it's lovely, isn't it?
It is.
So it's 6 here, 6 in the morning. It's early. Still dark. It doesn't really get light till about 7, so we may be in darkness for most.
We could be in darkness for most of it. We have another camera set up pointing out across the bay, but you can't really see much at the moment. But if it does get light enough, we'll put it on. Anyway, we are here this morning to talk about how you can get a 2-week holiday on Esper. And it's the kind of holiday that would normally cost you many thousands of pounds.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to pay for it, it would cost thousands of pounds. But obviously, staying on Esper is pretty much free. Just got to get yourselves here. But we'll go into a few details later. I've got a whole list of questions to get through.
Well, this is the kind of thing, I think, Liz, that's going to appeal to two different types of people. So you've got your world cruiser wannabes, so the people out there that are watching Follow the Boat, wanting to know what it's like to live on the boat. This is a great opportunity for you to find out, warts and all, what it's like. Yes,
Come stay on the boat and get a little bit closer to what it's really like. Might be one of you wants to do it and your partner's not so sure, so it's a good way to bring the partner along, because hopefully after a couple of weeks they'll love it. I mean, it could all go horribly wrong, but one would hope that we might be able to convince them that it's a good time. I mean, the other type of person is somebody who watches these videos and these kinds of videos, wants to sample it for themselves and wants to get out and do something a little different, not necessarily wanting to buy a boat, live on a boat or anything like that, just wants to sample a bit of travel and a different way of doing things.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people out there that are just curious about some of these places that we go to that are only really accessible by boat. You might not be into the sailing side of things, but you're just curious about the sort of places that we get access to on the boat, and I think that's why this is a great opportunity for those types of people as well.
Yeah, I agree. So if you've read the blurb, if you haven't, what we need to say next is that this opportunity is for patrons. So patrons, if you don't already know, are people who support our adventure and are a bit like a family to us. And this is our way of giving something back, isn't it?
Patrons are our family, and we have a great relationship with our patrons, and it's just our way of saying thank you very much.
Yes.
Come and meet us if you really want to, but
meet Millie.
Meet Millie, more to the point, and experience some of these great places that we go to.
Yeah, and being a patron isn't quite as daunting as it sounds. You only need to be pledging $2 a month. Cup of coffee, buy us a coffee a month, and then you're in the FTB Patron Mates crew. You're in with a chance of coming here, and you're in with a chance of all other kinds of things that we do just for patrons.
I think it's worth mentioning as well that this isn't just a one-off.
Yes.
That's why we're making a point about talking through coming to stay on Esper, is that it's our last and final target on Patreon, and once we hit that target, we're going to the idea is to roll this out once every few months or so. Yes,
it kind of depends on where we are, timing, because obviously you've got to quite carefully work out when people can come be on the boat. So we want to make it a regular thing, and after this goal there will be no more. It's all about getting patrons out onto the boat and sharing the adventure with us.
But you have to be a patron for 3 months.
Yes.
So, if you're paying $2 a month, that's $6.
Yeah.
And after 3 months, everyone that's a patron for 3 months or more who's paying $2 or more.
Yeah. That means they're eligible. So this is why we're getting it out now, to give you an advance warning, because we're over 75% of the way there. So just got a few more patrons to go, and then we'll invite people to come on the boat. So if you're thinking about being a patron, if you are a regular viewer, and we have a lot of you out there, just $2 and you're on the list. So right, anything else you want to talk about? Housekeeping?
Housekeeping, just very quickly. We don't have our big monitor this morning, so I've got about 10,000 windows open. Liz can't even see the computer. So the chat window is this big. And if you want to get noticed, then hit the super chat. So if you look underneath the chat facility, there's a little $sign. Just hit that and we'll see that and we'll answer your question.
Yeah, because everything else, I can't see a thing.
Yes. But without further ado, we asked our current patrons some questions. What do you want to know about what it means to come and A, just be on a boat generally, and B, to actually come and visit us? And they came up with some very good ideas. So we wanted to use their questions as the structure for this morning's chat.
Yes, in fact, I've got them all here. I'm just going to work through them and hopefully come up with some sensible answers. So shall I start?
Yeah, please start.
Right, so Robert, of Sailing with a Dutchman, hello Robert. He asked us a few questions. So first one, actually is quite a pertinent one for patrons, particularly in how will you be picking the patron that comes to visit you. Okay, so it's as we said, we've given you the eligibility. You need to be over 18. Just want to say that you need to be over 18 and you must be able to swim. Those are the only 2 prerequisites. So the how we will pick is that we're going to ask you to give us your reason, one or as many as you like, why you think we should pick you, why you want to come on the boat, and why you think you would be a great crew member. And we're asking you to do that through video. I know, because we're all about video, and you can be assured that when you come and join us you will be in our videos, so you've got to be reasonably comfortable around a camera. Now, you don't have to be Steven Spielberg, you don't have to do huge amounts of directing and lighting and all that. You can just do it on your phone. Phone is fine, just selfie, phone, make it landscape.
Oh, please make it landscape. Don't shoot it. Anyone that shoots in portrait,
yes, they'll have a brown,
it's in the bin.
Yeah, they'll have a point taken away.
Shoot in landscape.
The reason for this mainly is that we may use some of the footage that comes in, and that will be the right shape for the video. Otherwise, you get this long, stupid thing in the middle. So make it you're 5 minutes maximum.
Yep.
Pack in as much as you like. So first of all, we won't be looking at your editing skills. Don't worry about that. We want to know about you.
Although, on that note, I think no one's going to get preferential treatment for a beautifully edited video.
No.
But if you are the sort of person that enjoys video editing and is quite good at it, then maybe you might want to get involved in the production side of things as well when you come and stay on board. Yeah. Maybe that's your reason for coming to stay, is to actually bring your own camera gear, bring your laptop and help us actually edit an episode or two.
Yeah, so I mean there's loads of reasons why you want to come on. So yes, let's have a 5-minute epic or a 2-minute selfie. It's all about you. We want to see your reasons. We're going to judge you on your reasons. And that's it, basically. Okay?
Yeah, so really, your note here is enthusiasm over experience.
Yes.
And by the way, we have a super chat. Oh. Thank you very much. That looks like, is that Bosco Bob? Sorry, I did explain that our little window is tiny here. Let me just, yes, it's Bosco Bob. Thank you. So will you be looking for a crew when you cross the big ocean? It would make the watches a little less like a marathon and more like a series of sprints. Good question.
Yes, we've been asked that question by one of our patrons as well.
Indeed.
We can address it now if you want.
Yep, go. Yep, let's answer it.
Yeah, so you start. I'll just check.
Okay. So, would it make the watches a little less like a marathon? So, yes, Bob. We are considering patrons coming over to visit at any time, and it could be when we're based in one anchorage, or it could be when we are crossing borders. We'll talk a bit more about that in a moment, but it could also be the big ocean passages.
Yeah, I mean, it was Brett actually, Brett D. Grimes, and one of the 2 questions he asked, the same one as yours. I think it's Brett. A good one. Yeah, cheers, Brett. I think it's a really good one. It's interesting because you and I have never ever done anything with anyone else. We've always sailed on our own.
Yes, good point.
The longest crossing was probably the Indian Ocean, just the 2 of us.
Yep.
That was a difficult one because we lost every kind of autopilot, so we had to hand steer for 12 nearly 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that almost killed us. So
that was hard.
Yeah, so we realised that the longer passages, yes, it would be useful, definitely. So it's up for grabs. It's
yeah, it's slightly different though, isn't it? Because the long passage that we're planning in the next couple of years is the North Pacific, and it's going to be a very brutal passage, very brutal, potentially extremely dangerous weather.
You're putting me off.
I know. And it might take a long time, so you'd have to be very flexible on time, because when we leave Japan it will be all about the weather window. So you might come out and it might be 2 weeks before we leave, so you have to be very flexible, and you just don't know how long you're going to take to get across.
Yeah.
You're also not going to know where you land, because the weather patterns and the state of the sea may mean we get to Alaska, which is our goal, but if the weather's really bad, we may have to end up ducking into Vancouver. So you have to be very flexible. That's number one. I've been thinking about this. And number two, you would have to have experience. With all the other normal Patreon ones, you don't need any experience. Get into that in a minute. But for crossing the Pacific or crossing an ocean, you really need experience. We can't carry anyone. I
think basic experience. I think if you've done a competent crew and maybe understand your night lights, that kind of thing. Yeah. I'm not going to put so much emphasis on having experience, to be honest.
Okay, but
I think just a very basic understanding. I don't think we would take a complete novice.
No, you've got to have some sailing experience. I'd say preferably night sailing, preferably going across some kind of water. It doesn't have to be for 6 weeks, but 2 or 3 days in the sea. I think that's really, really important, because it will be full on and we won't have time really to carry someone, so we need some. So there's a lot of you out there, I'm sure, that will feel that. But yeah, when it comes to it, we will start thinking seriously about that.
Okay, right. So let's move on to... Now, Robert had another question, which we thought we would talk about, which is costs. So, how much will it cost a patron to come aboard for a week? Yeah. Now, we know it doesn't include airfare. That's absolutely right. We're not paying for your airfare, unfortunately. So you would have to make your own way over. And is it just for patrons, or can their spouses come along too? Well, of course, it's for 2 people. We can't really accommodate more than 2 people comfortably for more than a few days at a time. And
whether you want to bring your spouse or not, it's up to you. Friend.
Maybe it's a reason for getting away from the spouse.
I don't. No. Yeah, friend, spouse, partner, whoever. As long as they're over 18, they can swim, they can come with you. Your choice.
Yeah. So really for costs... So let's think about it. We are supplying food on board when we're on board, but we won't be supplying drinking costs or anything that happens ashore.
That's right.
And I think most times we would tend to go ashore in the evenings to restaurants, just to vary it a bit. So those kind of things. If you want to do land-based trips, maybe you need to rent a car or a scooter, go on a trek, something like that. That would be up to you to finance.
Yeah, although if we were going with you, we would pay half, obviously, if it's something we're all doing together.
Yeah.
But we would expect you to chip in on that.
Yeah, but basically your accommodation on board is free.
Yeah.
And we would be doing probably breakfast in the morning, maybe lunch if we're going off, at an anchorage where there's no restaurants and so on. So whilst you're on the boat, that's covered. And I think with things like booze, maybe what we'll do is we'll arrange before you come over and we'll go and do some shopping.
Yeah, we'll talk to you, whoever's coming out. We'll have quite a bit of a briefing beforehand. We'll discuss back and forth what we all need. We're not going to supply all the alcohol for the entire trip. There's some people we know can drink an awful lot, but certainly we'll put a portion towards alcohol every day. If you want more, then let us know. Obviously you can bring duty free, depending where we are. We'll buy what we can, but so it's up to you.
Yep.
Board and lodging, all included, normally thousands, free on Esper.
Yep. Right,
so on to the next one.
We have a question. This is from our next patron, Mark and Jean. Good morning. Don't know if you're with us right now. They are from Quest for Thunder, and they want to know about itinerary.
Is there an itinerary for your time on board, and do you anticipate any overnight passage making during the course of our stay?
Good. Yeah, that's a good question actually. So, obviously, the itinerary is going to depend upon where we are. And as we said earlier, it could be that we're jumping between borders, we could just be going up the coast, or it could be that we're just based on an island and there's, you know, 2 weeks worth of just cruising around an island. Don't know. But night passages are only going to really happen if we need to be moving forward and if we need to make our way somewhere that's more than, say, 40 or 50 miles down the coast. So we'll tend to avoid them, and we said in one of our recent episodes that we, certainly in the Malacca Strait in this part of the world, we are trying to avoid night passages because of all the crap in the water.
Oh gosh,
it's really bad.
Everyone we know has been caught in nets and stuff sometimes, so we all pretty much avoid it.
So the way I see it happening is night passages will only really happen when we're doing the bigger crossings.
Yeah, or if we're in an area not like this, where it's less...
where you've got maybe more than 50 miles between each anchorage.
Yeah, I mean, once we get to Japan, if people would come out to us in Japan, I believe that there might be some night passages. I don't know, really difficult to say.
And maybe you want to do a night passage. Perhaps you want to gain experience, clock up your sea miles, your night passage sea miles, and it's something you want to do. So, you know, we're open to that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a bit more restricted and a bit more limited in terms of safety on board. That we have to think about who's teaming up with who on the night passages, and safety equipment as well. So that's something that we would have to think about.
So the next couple of questions from these guys: will we be on the watch bill, and what sort of duties will we be expected to perform? So I mean, the watch bill, that goes on from what we were just saying. We talked about this yesterday, didn't we? And you suggested that if we were doing night watches, we would expect people to take a watch.
So the way I see it is, if there's another 2 people, the least experienced of those 2 would be with me, and the most experienced would be with you. So it kind of evens out the amount of experience between each couple doing that night watch.
And if you have no experience at all, either of you, just staying up and observing and just being there to keep the one that's doing the watches awake by talking to us and chatting and asking questions, that's enough. So we wouldn't put the responsibility of the boat straight onto you.
No.
Certainly if you've got no experience, we wouldn't expect that. But we want you to share in what it's like
and
to do everything.
And, you know, night sailing as well. Well,
it's one of our favourites.
It's one of our favourite times. It is beautiful. When you get clement weather, of course, it's a real experience, and you wouldn't really want to miss that, to be honest, when you're cruising along with a nice beam reach, 15 knots of wind and gentle seas and a cloudless sky and the moon coming up, and then that 5-6 in the morning when the sun comes up over the horizon.
I love it. I mean, I tend to do the wee small hour towards dawn watches. I'm better at that time of the day. Jamie's much better late at night. So I often am up for the dawn. And particularly when it's dark, very, very dark, and everything goes really, really dark. You know, they say just before dawn is the darkest hour. And then you just see the faintest glimmering of a slight lightning on the horizon. And this rush, this sort of primeval rush of joy floats through your body. Here comes the sun. I never tire of it. Love it. So that's night watches. What was the other one? And what sort of duties will we be expected to perform? Well, now the heads often need cleaning. The engine needs checking. Clean the anchor. No.
If you want to do that, I have no problem with you volunteering to clean the heads. And if you're a bit adept at engines and what have you, then come
roll your sleeves up,
do service our engine. We're more than happy for you to do that. So I think the basics, when you tend to do cooking in the morning. Oh, sorry, we've got a super chat here. This is from PM Westy, a regular viewer. Thank you very much. Wants to know, will you be stopping in Oregon?
I don't know. The farthest I've got on our big passage plan is BC to Seattle.
It stops at Seattle there so far. But
maybe
let's try and
I don't know.
Include it.
We want to stay in the US and Canada for a bit of time, because you guys do make up a huge part of our following. So we know we've got a lot of people over there that we need to be meeting. So keep watching this space.
Yeah, I'm really excited about getting over to that side of the world because for the reasons Liz says, you know, we've got so many people out there that we'd love to meet in person. So if it means us, even if we have to travel on land to come and see you guys, then we want to do it. We really want to do it.
And that's what we did in India. We put the boat in a marina and then we travelled all over inland, and hopefully we'll do some of that in the US as well. Now we need to go back to the duties.
Basic duties.
Yeah.
So Liz is going to do the cooking, the washing up and the laundry. You like cooking breakfast, actually. You're quite good at breakfast.
Yeah, I've got it. Yes, because it's a small galley, as you probably know, and I know exactly where everything is and in which order I want to do it. So I always do breakfast.
Yes.
And as far as duties for the people on board, it's not just a holiday where you're going to be sipping gin and tonics while we wait on you hand and foot.
Absolutely not.
This is about being part of the crew. So yes, duties. We'll put up a duty roster. We'll all take it in turns. We'll probably get you to do a bit of cooking. Sheets just might want to take us all out for dinner or lunch, but there'll be someone in charge of meals.
That's fine.
And where you sleep and where you keep your stuff is expected to be all put away and folded away and put away every day. And when we're up, we're all up on Esper. There's not much room not to be up. So one of the other things we'd say is get up when we all get up together.
Yes, that's I suppose that's a duty.
Yeah.
Other duties, we're not
Millie.
expecting you to... Oh, you've got to pamper Millie. I mean, that's kind of top of the list. Yeah. Millie does come first. She is the Admiral. She expects attention. So part of your duties will be to give her treats and maybe give her a little pet. Yes,
and of course the other thing is that you may already know, we showed Millie how to use the heads.
Oh, yes.
There's only one heads on Esper now. We took the forward one off. She used to have her own, but anyway, talk about that later. So we have one heads, and Millie shares it with us, which is brilliant. We don't have any cat litter anywhere. But the important thing is, because Millie uses it too, we're always keeping an eye and flushing whenever we need to, because she can't flush, so we have to flush for her. And if by some chance she's peed and you haven't noticed it, she can't bring herself to pee on a poo. She will. She will, no, sorry, it's the wrong way around. She can't poo on a pee.
That's right, yeah.
She will pee on a poo to push, but if there's already a pee down there, she'll poo on the floor. It's all very basic, and living on a boat is quite basic. So, we'll expect everyone to help us out with flushing after moo.
Yep.
Yes, moo. We say moo, that's our nickname for Millie.
One of the many nicknames for Millie. We have nicknames for each other as well, but
they're not repeatable here.
Yes. Especially this time in the morning.
Yeah, tell me about it. Oh, I need more coffee. So,
right,
Werner.
Okay, so this is Werner, known as Dive Yeti. Werner is one of a few patrons who's actually come to see us in person. We've hooked up with Werner a couple of times now. He's a top bloke.
Yeah,
he's such a lovely guy.
All right, Werner.
And it's so nice to meet our patrons. But yeah, he's great. Anyway, so he's talking a bit about payback.
Shall I read out what he says?
Oh yeah, go on.
It is quite funny. He says, "What do you consider prerequisites to qualify as a good fit?" And then he goes through a potential list of things he thinks that we'll need. Swimming like a dolphin. Well, yeah, that would be great.
That would be useful.
And we can't really have anyone on the boat that doesn't swim. It's just too much of a risk. I will be anxious the whole time, so you really do need to swim. Scuba like Jacques Cousteau.
Unfortunately, we don't have dive equipment on board, but we do have snorkel equipment. So, if we find a nice reef to snorkel around, we're not going to force you to do it, but you'd be silly to miss that opportunity.
Yeah, we both dive. We have our certificates, but we just don't have the room here to do it. Many of the places we go to, there are dive centres, so we could all go scubaing with hired equipment, possibly, depending on where we are. So, yeah, could be done. Then he says free diving, like Herbert Nitsch. I don't know who Herbert Nitsch is.
He's a free diver, isn't he? I think he's a famous free diver.
He must be. And he says, I'm not completely there yet, but I'm on my way. Well, I think free diving is really interesting. So
you can help unfoul the anchor when it gets caught round the bonny.
Yeah, so if you've got free diving skills, it would be a great opportunity for us to learn them. So yeah, that would be a great one.
Yep.
Several thousand miles, sea miles, even if it's just coastal sailing. Yeah, coastal sailing's good.
Useful. It doesn't matter what sailing experience you have, but it would be useful. But it's not going to define who comes on board.
No. Familiarity with a boat is good, though. Night sailing, well, we've addressed that. Yeah, night sailing is good. Militant non-smoker. Ooh, difficult one, because we used to be smokers.
And now we are
vapors.
Vapoteurs. Yes, we do vape. With smoking, we're not your typical ex-smoker. We don't get too hung up on it. We don't really like smoking in the cockpit because the wind will invariably carry the smoke through onto the boat. It's not very nice.
Certainly not down below, never.
We tend to ask people to stand at the back of the boat if they want to smoke.
Yeah.
But ideally,
we prefer not a non-smoker. And if you do smoke, just when we dock, when or go for a swim and have a fag. So yeah, preferably not smoking. Night
watches though. I mean, I used to smoke like a trooper on night watches. Coffee,
cigarette. Done it through
coffee,
gales.
Cigarette.
Yeah, we know. Yes. Sorry about that, but yeah, I think smoking's probably off. And then his final suggestion is team player. Absolutely.
Well, that'll make one of you. I'm no team player.
No, you're not.
I'm a team player aboard Esper. Sometimes, aren't I?
Yeah, you are a little bit. Yeah, but you do need to be a team player. It's absolutely crucial. We're all looking out for each other all of the time. You do also have to, as a team player, listen to the skipper. If you want to go up front and take a photograph, but the skipper wants you to pull that line, you better bloody pull the line.
I'm not a hard taskmaster with guests. Although I think my mum and dad would beg to differ. You probably would forget what I just said.
Yeah, you do have to do what the skipper says, because you may think you know what's going on, but really it's the skipper's job to know at all times what's going on. Sometimes I know what's going on, but yeah.
Sometimes I know what's going on.
Yeah.
Just sometimes.
Millie always knows.
By the way, if we're distracted, it's because it's Millie's time in the morning. She is now running around the boat, racing around the boat. If one of us disappears swearing, it's because she's fallen overboard. But she's been sitting down there vying for attention. And this is one of the things that you would have to do if you came on board, is to kind of pacify her, because she's there she goes. She's now trying to climb up the Dodger. But
come on, Millie.
Should just quickly say thank you to everyone in the chat. If you missed it earlier, we have so many windows open and the chat is so small, and because there's lots of things we want to talk about, we can't focus on the chat. But please do use the super chat if you have a burning question that you want us to drop everything and answer immediately. Then just look out for the little $ logo in the chat. Right.
Okay, so that was Werner. The next one is William Wallace. Hello, Bill. Good. Thank you for your questions. So they're all good. I'm going to just read 3 of them out. What should we bring with us? Things like sunscreen, shampoo, etc. Not easy to transport due to airport security. Yeah. It would seem some things will need to be brought at your location or somewhere in between. Is that true? Should we bring gloves for landlubber hands? And what do you think are must-haves? Well, actually, gloves are a good idea. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, gloves are a good idea, because there's a lot of various lines to be pulled.
Especially if you spend most of your day on a computer and you have lovely soft hands.
Baby hands.
Then gloves.
Yeah, I think that's the one investment that'll be worth it. And to any women who are not used to it, do not bother coming with long nails. They'll get ripped off. They'll break. So you have to keep your nails really short and hopeless on a boat with long nails. So yeah, the gloves idea I love. Now, yeah, you can buy all the necessities over here, and I would think that wherever it is you come on board, we're going to be near a reasonable amount of civilization, and certainly you will have come through the airport, so you must be able to buy most things. It's going to depend where we are, of course.
Okay, things that we carry on the boat. We carry mosquito repellent, we carry sunscreen, and we carry basic medication. But if you do have any medical requirements, or you're taking regular tablets or whatever,
sure
bring all that with you.
And just remember, you know, I know it's difficult to get things through airport security, but in your checked luggage, you can put anything.
That's very true.
So checked luggage is fine. And actually, on a note on luggage, really important that you bring that much, because there's not much stowage on here. So you have to bring absolute basics. And it needs to be in a squashy bag.
Squashy bag is so important. I think any sailor will know this. Do not bring a hard suitcase.
Nowhere to put it.
Bring a squashy holdall or something, somewhere where we can stow it away or it can be manoeuvred around. We don't want anything hard like that on the boat. It's a hazard and it's a real problem stowing it.
Yeah. Sunscreen, yes, do bring sunscreen, but I find certainly in these very hot climates that it just rolls straight off.
It does.
Gets in my eyes.
Yeah. So a big wide-brimmed hat. Sunglasses, polarised if possible. You definitely want those.
And loose long sleeve shirts. You'll see quite a lot of the time that it's really hot and you're wondering why I'm covered up to here with long sleeves. It's the best way. It's the best way not to get burnt. It really, it's the only way, I think, in these kinds of climates. So yeah, hat, cover up. Legs are normally all right.
And really important point here, which you put in your notes, is holiday insurance. Bring your own insurance, because our insurance will probably not cover you for your own personal insurance. That's really important, because if something were to happen and you have to be helicoptered out, then you've got to be covered for that.
And then, usually very much, but we'll go through our policy nearer the time and talk to people about it.
And then finally, you've put don't bring towels or bed linen, which is a really important point, because you know, I think when you go on holiday, you take a towel, and most people pack terry toweling. You know, it takes up this much space. You don't need to bring that, because we have beautiful Turkish hammam towels which fold up to nothing and are very good, and we've got loads of bed linen as well. So that
got loads of both. So it saves you.
That saves a bit of space in your luggage.
Yeah. And you really only need one pair of shoes, because you're going to be anyway.
Flip flops. That's all you need. Yeah. Well, depending on where we are, of course. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so we have a question from Brett. Morning, Brett. He was the first person in the chat this morning, I noticed, and he wants to know, how will allowing patrons on board affect your progress of moving towards the Pacific Passage? And would you consider taking on extra crew to help with an extended passage?
Which we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
So so the first one, I don't know, patrons affecting our progress.
It's not going to affect our progress really, because we are sticking to Lizzie's sort of broad 2-year plan, starting in a couple of months when we head down to Sumatra.
Yes, we've got our visas. We've got we've got to pick them up today, but they arrived yesterday, so we've got visas for it now. So
yeah. So we have a rough plan anyway. So to come out for a couple of weeks isn't really going to impact on that, because it may be when we get to Borneo we spend 3 months there. Maybe when we get to the Philippines we spend 6 months there. It may be when we get to wherever we hop, skip and a jump and we're off again. We just don't know. But as you can see from our progress over the last 12 years, in 12 years we've done 1/4 of the globe. We know people that are on their second circumnavigation.
3rd and 4th. We've only got this far. But for us it's more about the travelling. The sailing is great, but the travelling, of course. And if you really want to learn cultures, you do need to immerse yourself in places, which is one of the reasons we're here for so long. Also, there's lots of boat maintenance which hold you up sometimes. Yeah, but this passage is we don't want to go breakneck through it. We want to see places on the way, so there should be loads of opportunities.
Yeah.
You going on to the next one?
Yeah. Okay. This is from Will Hunt. Hiya. Go on.
So he says, does Liz use pyjamas or underwear to sleep in? And if Jamie sleeps in the nude, this may be a deal breaker. Well now. So it depends on where we are, what the temperature is, as to what we wear, and who else is on the boat. We prefer that people don't straddle around wearing nothing. We like to see people in clothes.
I'm going to make up.
All right.
I'm going to make up a rule. No banana hammocks on Esper. All right. Absolutely
no tight speedos.
No tight speedos. I do not want to see your hairy ass in my face when you bend over and take a line. And I'll make a deal. I'll sleep with some clothes on.
Okay, that's fair enough, isn't it?
I mean, one of the things on the boat, especially in the tropics, but from a safety point of view, is that we do tend to sleep with all the doors open. Because if anything were to happen, I need to get up really quickly, and it allows me to hear sounds on the boat. But what it also means is that there is only one little galley between where I'm sleeping and where you could be sleeping. So I think for everyone's health and safety, I will be putting on a pair of shorts at least for sleeping. And yeah, there we go. And you need to dig out your pyjamas.
Yeah, I have to find some pyjamas. Yeah, it is quite an intimate thing, sleeping on a boat like this. We don't have spare cabins, so you will be sleeping in the saloon, and there are 2 beautiful berths in the saloon, and we sleep in them sometimes as well. So you'll be there, and during the day you'll roll your things up and it remains a saloon, although most of the time we're up here, it doesn't really matter. So you are in the saloon. We're all very close to each other, so we'll work things out, don't worry about it.
Yes.
Okay, so
they did ask if we'll supply bed linen, which we have answered, but just to reiterate that we do have bed linen. So
yeah.
And what about sleeping arrangements? So we take the after cabin.
Well, I've just said they'll be in the saloon. Were you doing something?
I was doing something else. Sorry.
Never listens to me.
You what?
Now, got it, proof. Yeah, so you'll be in the blah blah blah. So Mark and Jean, they asked several questions, so we split them up to earlier, and now we've got some more. While on Esper, will there be travel that will take us into more than one country? If so, how do we work out in advance any visa issues? And will the stay on board begin and end in the same location? Sorry to be vague, but once again, it depends where we are in the world and at what point we are. But it could be yes to all of those things, couldn't it?
We just don't know.
Yeah.
I think, so what we've found with visas is that, well, in fact, I was just going to say, normally we have to go to another country to apply for a visa, but that's normally for longer term. If it's just 2 weeks, in most places you'll get a visa on arrival. And I suspect that if we were to cross borders, we take you as crew, and when we land, we then sign you off as crew, and you would get the same visa that we would be getting, which would just be, a month's pass or whatever. But it does depend on each country. It depends
on the country you're going to and the country that your passport.
Yes, that's very true as well.
So as UK passport holders, we can go into some places with ease and others not so easily. And if you've got a US, Canadians I think can go anywhere. I think Australians and Kiwis can as well. But for some of us, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult. Yeah, it's a very interesting one, visas. We can talk about it in great detail when it comes to your visit. And of course, when it comes to your visit, it's quite an interesting question. We'll put out the call, and we'll probably give, I don't know, we haven't decided, 3 or 4 weeks to get all the videos in. We'll then take 2 or 3 weeks to watch them all and make a decision. So you're looking at possibly 2 months after the initial call out. And then at that stage, we have to look at your situation and our situation and marry up a time when we can meet. So we're going to have loads of time to work all that kind of thing out. And visas, we're pretty good at visas now. We know what to do. So we'll give you all the information at the time. Yeah, it could be. The other difficulty is if we're moving from one country to the next, is your air flights. So
I think it's really important to emphasise that you have to be flexible.
Yeah.
And to book a 2-week holiday in between work on specific dates is all well and good, but let me tell you a little anecdote. I did a delivery from Portugal, South Portugal, to the UK. And beautiful little boat it was, but we had the owner on board who did not touch the wheel once.
Shame.
He hired a skipper, a mate, and me as crew, and we sailed it however many hundreds of miles up the Portuguese coast, got to northern Portugal, and every single day his wife, girlfriend, was phoning him up saying, where are you, when are you going to be back, I don't know, love, it's in the skipper's hands. We then got to northern Spain and were held in by bad weather for more than 5 days.
Yeah, Bay of Biscay, difficult, very difficult, dangerous area.
So every day he was fending off this girlfriend who was getting more and more impatient with him, saying, "Where the hell are you?" And it's like, it's outside my control. When eventually we crossed Biscay and across the Channel and to the southern coast of the UK, we came into a marina. He'd booked a berth for his new boat. And there was his wife, and she might just as well have had a rolling pin in her hand. I've never seen anyone move so fast. This guy ran off. He didn't even thank me. I didn't get paid for the job.
Oh.
He didn't even thank me. He buggered off because he was being chased by this really impatient wife who'd got so wound up that she couldn't get an absolute date of his arrival. So that rather long-winded anecdote, I hope, so that kind of explains sometimes the situations we can be in as sailors, and you need to be a little bit flexible about those.
Yeah, you're totally at the mercy of the weather. You really are. I mean, you must know that by now if you've been watching our videos. So we will endeavour every time to make sure that you get your flight home. It might mean if getting your flight home is more important than sort of going off exploring, that we don't do as much exploring as you'd like to. I mean, we can just sail in the vicinity, which is fine.
Yep.
Which is fine.
Don't have a
We're
problem with
happy
that.
to do that.
Yeah.
But if you're adding some more time on to the 2 weeks you'll be with us, perhaps if you want to go travelling, then it's a great little starter on the boat, and probably won't matter where we drop you. It's going to depend entirely on what you want and the situation we're in. So there you go. Okay, so what else have we got? Kevin.
This is I think pretty much the last thing that's come up, and it's from Kevin Baker, and it's about Millie, the most important crew member aboard Esper. And he says, "I'm an animal lover, so Millie can expect a lot of attention." Thank you, Kevin. That's the kind of person we're looking for. Someone that can take some of the responsibility of dealing with this pesky little fur baby. That's great. And Daniel O'Connor says, "What happens if Millie violently reacts to a temporary crew member? Does their temporary status become that of keelhauled?" Yeah, good question.
It's never happened yet. She's a pretty friendly animal.
She is very friendly.
If people don't like her, she leaves them alone. And if people do like her, she's always very gracious and very friendly. So yeah,
she likes to show off a bit as well.
She's a big show off,
which I think she gets from her mum and dad.
You.
But
actually, there is a serious point to this, because we have a cat on board. She sheds her fur, so there is a bit of fur around, as much as I try and clean it up every day. But if you have an allergy to cats, this may not be the best situation to be in, because you cannot get away from her, obviously. So do think seriously about that. And if you really don't like animals, this may not be the best place to be, because we're animal mad. And we live with one. Well, I live with two. So yeah, just think about the importance of the fact that Millie is on board with us all the time. We have got some more questions.
Just another shout out to everyone in the chat. Thank you very much for joining us. We do appreciate it. Use the super chat if you want to ask a question that you want us to answer. Mr. Longinod asks, "Is super chat not working?" It may be a country restriction that you're having a problem with super chat. It's available in most countries. But press that $, and if it's not working, it could be something to do with where you're from.
Because we have had some, so it's working this end. Sorry about that. Become a patron, then we'll read out your question next time.
So we're on to Brett, right? Again, Brett has another question. He's, by the way, you can you see it? It's starting to get light, but there's a bit of wind coming in. So if you can hear wind on the mic, then do let us know. We'll try and block it. So yes, Brett, who joined us, first person to join us this morning, asks, "Is there a possibility of meeting American McGee?"
I'm going to read out American McGee.
Why would you want to meet American McGee?
This is American McGee, who was our very first patron and now an extremely good friend of ours. And his first question and only question for this live stream was, "I suffer from fluctuating acute recurring typically syndrome. and would be concerned of methane build-up in your bilges leading to fire or explosion. Do you have systems on board to avoid this sort of scenario? Also, what sorts of canned beans are you able to stock, or should I bring my own? Thank you, American. So, Brett, are you sure you want to meet this idiot?
Well, to answer American's question, we do have systems on board to avoid that kind of situation.
We do.
It's just to not invite you on board.
Yeah. Okay.
You got your own boat, American. Go and play on that. Brett, American comes over to Thailand to sail his own boat, but of course we do hook up with him, and he has said that he would love to join us as well on some of our journeys further afield. So who knows, there may be a chance.
There may well be. If
you've never met him before, take it from someone who has met him.
Right, so I just want to read this one which came in overnight from David Malone, Patron. Cheers, David. This is what he says. What equipment should a visitor expect to bring? For example, PFD, harness, foul weather gear, sleeping bag, etc, etc. How flexible are you with dietary restrictions? Something else we need to tackle. And will there be a minimum number of hours per day one is required to dote on Millie? Well, David, we've done the Millie one to death now. I think some people are not interested in her, although we love her. But yes, of course, we would expect you to dote on Millie. So,
first question,
the two questions, yeah. What equipment should a visitor expect to bring?
Good question. If we are in colder climates, then you probably will be expected to bring your own foul weather gear, footwear. We will have life jackets on board, so you can use those, but if you have your own life jacket you prefer to use, then use that, but bring it. But don't forget, one of the problems with taking life jackets on aeroplanes is the canister, and you won't be able to take that with you. So you might want to check beforehand to see if they're available locally. Maybe we'll try and carry a few spare as well. But I think those are the main things, especially if we're in bad weather. You need to bring your own thermals as well.
Yes, I mean clothing and all that will have to be yours, but as you say, we'll have life jackets. You don't need to bring a sleeping bag. It's a lot to expect you to bring. So we have sleeping gear, so don't worry about that. Again, at the time when we discuss whoever's coming over, when we discuss it with you, we'll go through all that in a bit more detail. But yeah, if you've got like some people have personal EPIRBs and this kind of thing, then yeah, bring it. If you can get it on the plane, bring it. Definitely. So that would be great.
Big shout out to Brett, who asked the question about American McGee, and he's just sent $5 on the super chat. Thank you, Brett. He says he's an old-time PC gamer. I get why you want to meet American. For those that don't know, American is a bit of a legend in the PC gaming world. Worked on Doom. If anyone's played Doom or Quake, those games.
Alice.
And of course, Alice is his big one.
Yeah.
But he says if you can't meet him, then Millie will do. Well, let me tell you, I think Millie is preferable.
She's much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's much better. I've never played a game in my life, I will be honest with you now. He loves playing them. I can't get into it, doesn't interest me. Yeah. And so when I met American, I had no idea that he was the superstar. And I still don't understand why he is, but anyway, there you go. So the next one that David asked, I know David's quite keen to help us out on some passages, so we'll be talking to you, as I said, David, at closer to the time when we're doing some bigger passages. Will there be a sorry. How flexible are you with dietary restrictions? Interesting.
Yes. Okay. We are pescatarians, which means we eat fish, which is quite convenient, being on the boat on the coast. Unfortunately, now, and I should just make this clear. For me, it's simply because I just don't like meat. That is it. I have no problem preparing meat. I have no problem slaughtering animals for the sake of food. I have no problems with that. But one of the issues that we have on the boat is that we do not have a freezer. Now, for our diet, this makes it nice and easy because it's mainly vegetables and then fresh fish that we catch. But we can't freeze meats.
We've never had meat on the boat because you were a veggie right from the start and I've become a veggie over the years. It's just easier, so we don't keep meat on the boat, so there won't be meat.
But if we happen to go to the supermarket and you are desperate for a steak, we do have a barbecue on
Yeah.
on the back of the boat. So we, as I say, we don't want to be awkward about it.
No, we don't mind you eating meat.
Yeah, we don't have a problem with that. But just be aware that if we're in a situation where we are cooking in the evenings, more than likely when we're cooking, it won't contain meat. Having said that, we do use a lot of soya protein. And I have cooked people dishes with soya protein and not told them that it's soy, and they didn't know any different.
No, it's just like mince, you wouldn't know.
Can you see that now? We can now see, you can just see Dawn. There we go.
Hello, Dawn. All right, love. Yeah, so actually it's a very important one, and obviously we will work with you on your dietary requirements. So if you do require meat and 2 veg every day, we will have to work that one out. Obviously there's all these gluten-frees and wheat, I don't know, all these different things. We'll work it out, I'm sure. But yeah, it is quite important to know about the meat thing. Yeah,
but I think we'll just end on that subject by saying we're accommodating to different diets, and we hold no grudges if you are vegan or if you're a massive meat eater.
Yeah.
You know, we're all a bit different, aren't we?
Yes.
Some more than others.
Slightly off topic then, Erica Maxim. Hi Erica, regular contributor on Patreon. In some episodes you have been cooking in the galley. Do you ever cook outside on a grill or on a solar oven? So that kind of follows on from Brett's question. Yeah, we have our Barbie.
So we have the Barbie, which hangs off the back of the boat. Now, another sailing channel, Manuel and Pinar, they are sailing on a boat. They've just bought a new boat actually. Not a new boat, new to them, in Turkey.
Yeah.
And they have a solar oven, and I saw it in action, and I'm pretty impressed with it. We don't have one, but I like the idea of a solar oven, but we don't have that. But we do have the Barbie, which is especially useful because, you know, when it gets really hot, we tend not to use the oven down below because it just heats up the boat too much. So if we've got especially fresh fish, it goes on the Barbie out the back of the boat. And Erica also asks, it's slightly off topic, do you think you will ever sail to the UK or the Med, or does that not appeal?
Oh, such an interesting question. So as we said earlier, you know we're going to get to the Pacific Northwest, and what do we do after that? What do we do after that?
Well, who knows? One of the things that we have to think about is family.
Yes.
And my parents, bless them, you know, they're not getting any younger. My brothers have sons and daughters who are growing up that we don't get to see that often.
Yes, I have niece and nephew.
And I think by the time we get over to the States and start working our way down, then maybe it will be time to cross over the Atlantic and hit Europe. Who knows?
We will have circumnavigated then.
If we get to Turkey.
To get all the way to Turkey.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that we will go to the Med. I think we'll go through the Panama, and then we'll see some of the Caribbean islands that we've not seen before. We'd like to go to Cuba. Yeah. We'd like to go up the east coast of America.
East coast of the States is also on the list, definitely.
For 12 years we've talked about sailing into New York and tying up at Manhattan. May sound very prosaic to some Americans, but for us it sounds very glamorous. We'd like to get even further north, and I'd love to see Newfoundland one day. So there's all of that. The other thing, do you know that of all the places in the world, so many yachtists say to us their favourite is the Azores? So that would mean crossing the Atlantic.
Yes.
And my brother's just moved to Mallorca, living in an ancient windmill. So by the time we get there, he may have done it up a bit. So yeah, I think, Erica, it could well happen. There's also the Baltic Sea. I'd like to go there. I'd like to sail around Scotland.
Scotland, yeah.
Oh, so much. Ireland.
Yeah, Ireland, definitely. Yeah.
So
I think that pretty much wraps up the basics of coming to stay on Esper. Quite like this live chat format. If we think of any more subjects, then maybe we'll do this again.
Yeah.
We wanted to keep it under an hour, and this is perfectly timed because we're about to hit an hour. It also coincides with that beautiful dawn you can see out there as well.
Look at the colours.
It's wonderful. So we've got
Archie.
one more super chat. Archie, who's just saying hello and good to see you're looking healthy
Cheers,
and
Archie.
happy.
Yeah,
Thank you very
we
much.
are.
We appreciate that.
It's got something to do with the rum I put in my coffee, possibly.
You didn't put any in mine. Where's my rum?
In the bottle.
So thank you
Right.
very much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. And just one final question from Brian Johnson. Does Liz have any older sisters? Brian, if they were any older, they would...
Oi. Actually, I'm the oldest. There's 4 of us. I have a brother who's a bit younger than me, and I have 2 young sisters. So conjure with that, Brian. The youngest one already has 2 little children, but the one in the middle, she's a junior doctor and she's lovely.
Okay, so just to summarise then, this is a great opportunity for you guys to come out and spend time, not just with us, but to be on a boat. Something that would normally cost you thousands of pounds. To charter a boat, I think you're talking $5,000 minimum.
Oh, easy. Yeah.
Minimum.
We're talking 2 weeks here.
So to become a patron for just $2 a month, it's a bit of a bargain.
Yeah.
Don't forget, we're going to be rolling this out. This isn't just a one-off thing. So if it works, then we're going to be rolling it out. So for every patron who's been with us paying $2 or more a month for 3 months or more, is in with the opportunity of doing this. We're just going to ask you to put together a short video explaining why you would like to come and join us. And that's basically going to be the selection process. So please do consider becoming a patron. It really does help us. I can't emphasize that enough. It helps us put out our episodes and pay for the equipment and so on, and it's a big deal to us.
It really is.
We love our patrons.
We really
don't we?
do. We have a lot of personal relationships with them. Some we've met, but often we're having long discussions on email and through messaging about specific topics that they want to talk to us about, and we will give that one-on-one time to every patron. It's really good fun getting to know them, and although it's an opportunity for you to come on the boat, it's also an opportunity for us to meet these incredible people as well. When we get over to the US, we're probably going to be doing some Patreon get-togethers. So if you're a patron in the US and Canada, obviously, we will be doing patron get-togethers. So become a patron and then come and meet us as well.
And also, we should emphasise that this is a patron target.
Yes.
So it's when we reach a certain number of patrons, we're going to start doing this. We haven't yet reached that target, so we really would like you to become patrons, help support our channel, and then we can start thinking about rolling this out.
Yeah, it will happen when we reach the target, so it just depends when that happens, and then it's all go.
Verna has just popped in the chat. Verna, you missed us. We gave you a big shout out and answered your questions. So at the end of this, we're going to wrap up now, but at the end of this, you can rewatch this episode, obviously. And thank you to Jeffrey Robbins, who's just had sunset in the Grenadines.
Wow.
Isn't that great? Look at this.
Yeah,
sunrise.
Yours has disappeared and ours has come up. Same old sun. Oh,
thank you, Jeffrey. We really appreciate that.
I think we're going to try and put some time codes in. So if there's specific topics and you missed them, we'll time code them rather than making people watch the whole boring hour of us two blabbing on.
Wittering on. Blah, 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 blah. So I think this is, as we said earlier, just to summarise, this is a great opportunity. This is an opportunity for 2 different types of people. Those who are thinking of becoming livable, and we know there's a lot of you out there that watch this channel who always ask us lots of questions. What's it like? How can I do it? And to answer that question, what's it like?
Come and do it.
Come and do it.
Yeah.
This is the perfect opportunity for you. But even if you're not a sailor and you're not interested in the sailing but are more interested in the travel and accessing some of these incredible places that we have gained access to by being on the boat, this is also an opportunity for you as well.
Yeah, it is indeed. Right, is that it?
I think that is it.
That is it. So
thank you.
I think we will do this again.
Yeah.
Wherever we've got decent enough connection, and it seems to have been okay to date, we will try and do this. We're going to have to think about another subject. Rather than just throwing it open, we like to
We like to have a structure to these live chats. Yeah.
So, patrons, if you could have a think about what we should be talking about next, get in touch with us.
Nice one. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. That is bang on 1 hour.
Wow! Timing.
I'm going for another coffee. Peace and fair winds.